Dr. Jinho Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked at the huge metal box in front of him. The box was as big as a small house and made strange humming sounds. Inside this box lived the most dangerous creatures anyone had ever seen. Jinho was a scientist from Korea who studied alien animals. He had come on this space mission to learn about these scary monsters. His friend Dr. Haejin Kim stood next to him, writing notes on her computer tablet. She was also from Korea and worked as Jinho's research partner. They both wore white lab coats and carried small machines that could scan and measure things. "Look at them move," Jinho said quietly, pointing at the dark shapes inside the box. "They look like black smoke, but they can become solid when they want to attack." The creatures inside were called shadow maws. They came from a planet far away called Kepler 4 for 2b. Each shadow maw had 8 long arms that moved like snakes. Their bodies could change from solid to gas-like whenever they wanted. They made them almost impossible to catch or kill. Veltar walked. Up to them, he was the leader of their expedition, but he was not human. Veltar came from the planet Altair and had blue skin and 4 big eyes. His 4 eyes kept looking at the metal box nervously. "These things have been killing people in space for 3,000 years, Veltar told them. His voice shook a little when he spoke. "No one has ever been able to fight them and win. They are too smart and too fast." Jinho counted 12 shadow maws in the big container. Each one was about the size of a large bear, but much more dangerous. They pressed their dark bodies against the energy wall that kept them trapped. The energy wall looked like blue lightning that never stopped moving. "Why do we keep them on our ship?" Ajin asked. "Seems very risky." "We study them to understand how they hunt," Veltar explained. "Maybe someday we can find a way to stop them from killing people." The ship they were on was called Corvani's Pride. It was a huge research vessel that traveled through space. Scientists from many different planets worked together on this ship. They had humans, Altarians, Zenthari, and many other alien species, all working as one team. Jinho walked closer to the container. The shadow maws inside seemed to notice him. They moved toward his side of the box, pressing their dark forms against the energy barrier. Their movements were smooth like water flowing downhill. "They are very intelligent," Jinho said. "Look how they watch us. They are learning about us just like we are learning about them." Suddenly, the lights in the room started to flicker. The ship's power core was having problems. This sometimes happened when ships traveled through hyperspace, the special way that spaceships moved faster than light. "That's not good," Hajin said, looking at her tablet. "The power readings are dropping." The energy barrier around the shadow maws began to flicker too. First it happened once, then twice. Jinho felt his heart start beating faster. If that barrier failed, the creatures would be free. "Everyone stay calm," Veltar said, but his voice did not sound calm at all. "This has happened before. The power will come back on." But the power did not come back on. The energy barrier flickered one more time, then disappeared completely. The humming sound stopped. The metal box was now just an empty container with no way to keep the shadow maws inside. The shadow maws poured out of the container like thick black paint spilling from a can. They moved fast, their 8 arms carrying them across the floor and up the walls. Some of them became like smoke and floated through the air. Others stayed solid and crawled along the ceiling. All around them, alien crew members started screaming. The Altarians ran toward the exit doors. The Zenthari tried to hide behind equipment. Everyone was terrified and running in different directions. "The emergency alarm," Veltar shouted, pressing a red button on the wall. Loud sirens began to sound throughout the ship. But Jinho was not running. He stood very still, watching the shadow maws spread out through the room. Hajin stood next to him, still looking at her tablet and taking notes. "We need to get to the emergency escape pods," Hajin said calmly. She did not sound scared at all. "The ship has small spaceships we can use to get away." Veltar stared at both humans with his 4 eyes wide open. "How can you be so calm? Those things will kill us all. We need to run." But Jinho had noticed something very strange. The shadow maws were moving away from where he and Hajin were standing. They were hunting the other crew members, but they seemed to be avoiding the humans completely. "Ah, God. Look," Jinho whispered to Heijin. They are not coming toward us. They are going around us instead. The shadow maws moved through the room like deadly hunters, chasing the alien crew members. But whenever they came close to the two humans, they would change direction and go somewhere else. Something was different about humans. Something that even these terrible monsters could sense. 3 hours had passed since the shadow maws escaped from their prison. Dr. Heijin. Kim walked carefully through the dark hallways of the ship, writing notes on her tablet. Next to her, Jinho carried his small scanning machine that could read the vital signs of living creatures. They had been moving through the ship, trying to help other crew members who were trapped. So far, they had saved 8 aliens from different species. There, Heijin whispered, pointing down a long corridor. Do you see that? At the far end of the hallway, a large shadow maw had cornered to Zenthari. Engineers. The Zenthari looked like tall, thin people with gray skin and big heads. They were pressed against the wall, shaking with fear. The shadow maw was moving closer to them, its 8 arms reaching out. We have to help them, Jinho said. He stepped into the corridor where the shadow maw could see him. The moment the creature noticed Jinho, something amazing happened. The shadow maw stopped moving toward the Zenthari. Instead, it began to back away, moving toward the dark shadows near the wall. What just happened? Hajin asked quietly. The shadow maw disappeared into the darkness, becoming like smoke. The 2 Zenthari engineers ran away as fast as they could, their long legs carrying them down the corridor. That makes no sense, came a voice through their communication device. It was Captain Nechfer, who was watching them through the ship's cameras from a safe room. Shadow maws never retreat from anything. They are the most feared predators in the galaxy. Jinho pointed his scanner at the place where the shadow maw had been. The machine made beeping sounds and showed numbers on its small screen. Look at these readings, Jinho said. The creature's stress levels were very high. Its brain patterns showed that it was afraid. Afraid? Hajin asked. A shadow maw was afraid of us. They continued walking through the ship. Every time they found a shadow maw attacking alien crew members, the same thing happened. The creatures would be hunting the aliens with great focus and determination. But the moment Jinho or Heijin appeared, the shadow maws would stop their attack and move away. They saved a group of Altarians who were hiding in a storage room. They helped 3 Vorthan mechanics who were trapped in the engine room. The shadow maws would retreat when they saw the humans coming. This is happening everywhere, said Dr. Sora Choi through their communication device. Sora was another Korean scientist on the ship. She studied the minds and behavior of different species. She was staying in a safe room, watching everything. Through the ship's cameras, I have been watching all the encounters between humans and shadow maws, Sora continued. The pattern is always the same. The creatures approach. They sense something about humans, then they back away. It is like they recognize something in us that scares them. The ship's computer, called Arya, began to speak. Intelligence that could think and analyze data very quickly. Dr. Kim, I have been studying the body signals of all humans during these encounters, Arya said. I have found something very interesting. When humans face these predators, your heart rate stays normal. Your breathing stays steady. Other species panic, but humans remain calm. Jinho looked at his tablet, reading the data that Arya was showing him. You're right, look at this information. When a Zenthari sees a shadow maw, their heart beats 3 times faster. When an Altarian sees one, they start breathing very quickly, and their body temperature rises. But when humans see shadow maws, Hajin added, our bodies stay relaxed. We don't panic. There is something else, Arya continued. Your body language is different too. As other species run away or freeze in fear. But humans move forward slowly and carefully. You watch the creatures. You study them. Even when you are in danger, you are still trying to learn about them. Sora's voice came through the communicator again. That's the key difference. Not just trying to survive, we're trying to understand. Even when facing the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, humans are still curious about them. Jinho stopped walking and thought about this. We're not running from them like prey animals would. We're not attacking them like other predators would. We're doing something else entirely. What are we doing then? Hajin asked. We're observing them, Jinho said slowly. We're studying them. We're learning their patterns and behaviors. Even in mortal danger, we're still trying to figure out how they work. Through the ship's speakers, they could hear the sounds of other crew members running and screaming. The Shadow Maws were still hunting the aliens. But whenever the creatures came near any human, they would stop and move away. The Shadow Maws can sense this difference in us, Sora explained. They can tell that humans are not like other species. We represent something they have never encountered before. But what could possibly scare creatures that have terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years? Hajin wondered. Jinho looked at his scanner readings one more time. The answer was starting to form in his mind, but it seemed impossible to believe. Dr. Jinho Park sat in the ship's research lab, staring at the big computer screen. Around him, the surviving crew members waited quietly. They had managed to reach the safe research area, but they were still trapped on the ship with the deadly Shadow Maws. Hajin sat next to him, looking tired but curious. On the other side of the room, several alien crew members huddled together. There were 3 Altarians, 2 Xanthari, and 1 Vorthon engineer. They all looked scared and confused about what was happening. I have been thinking about this problem the wrong way, Jinho said suddenly. He stood up and walked to the computer controls. We keep asking ourselves why the Shadow Maws are afraid of us. That is not the right question. What do you mean? Hajin asked. The right question is, what do the Shadow Maws see when they look at us? Jinho pressed some buttons on the computer. What makes them think we are dangerous? The big screen came alive with pictures and data. Jinho showed images of different animals from Earth. There were wolves running in packs, lions hunting zebras, and sharks swimming in the ocean. Look at these brain scans, Jinho said, pointing to colorful pictures on the screen. These show how the brains of Earth's predators work when they hunt. Next to the animal brain scans, he put up pictures of human brains. But these were special scans taken during the encounters with the Shadow Maws. The patterns looked different from the animal brains. Hajin studied the images carefully. I think I understand what you are trying to show me. Every species in the galaxy evolved to be either a hunter or something that gets hunted. Predators eat prey. Prey runs from predators. It is simple. Exactly, Jinho said, getting excited. But humans are different. He pulled up more information on the screen. This time, it showed the history of humans on Earth. There were pictures of early humans with simple tools tracking large animals across vast distances. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Jinho explained. We did not just survive when big predators tried to eat us, became specialized in hunting the hunters themselves. The alien crew members moved closer to listen. They had never heard anything like this before? Jinho continued his explanation. On Earth, there were huge cats with teeth like swords. We call them saber-toothed cats. Humans hunted them until they could not run anymore. We followed them for days until they collapsed. From being too tired? There were also giant bears that lived in caves, Hajin added, understanding the idea now. Cave bears were much bigger and stronger than humans, but humans hunted them too. We systematically eliminated every apex predator that threatened us, Jinho said. An apex predator is an animal that sits at the top of the food chain. Nothing hunts them, except humans. Dr. Sora's voice came through the communication device. She was still in another safe room, watching through the ship's cameras. So the Shadow Maws are not just seeing another species when they look at us. They are seeing something that should not exist in nature. What do you mean? Asked Captain. Dakvar. His translator device made strange clicking sounds as it tried to convert his alien language into words the humans could understand. We are predators that hunt other predators, Sora explained. In normal nature, this does not happen. Predators hunt prey, but humans hunt predators. Jinho nodded and pointed to more data on the screen. Look at how the Shadow Maws behave around us. They do not attack us like they would attack prey. They do not fight us like they would fight another predator. Instead, They back away, Heijin observed. They recognize that we are something different, something that they have never encountered before. Their instincts tell them that we are dangerous. Ginho continued. Not because we are bigger or stronger, but because we represent something that hunts things like them. The ship's computer, Arya, began to speak. I have analyzed the data from all human encounters with shadow maws. Human behavior patterns match those of persistent predators. You move slowly and patiently. You study your target carefully. You look for weaknesses. Do not rush into attack, Hajin said. We do not run away in fear. We watch. We learn. We plan. The shadow maws can sense this, Jinho added. Their brains recognize the behavior pattern of a persistence hunter. They know instinctively that this type of hunter is dangerous to them. One of the Altarian crew members spoke up. Are you saying that these creatures can somehow sense your evolutionary history? That they know humans used to hunt apex predators? On Earth? Not exactly, Jinho replied. They cannot know our history, but they can recognize our behavior. The way we move, the way we watch them, the way we stay calm. All of this tells them what kind of creature we are. Sora's voice came through the communicator again. It is like how some animals on Earth can sense when an earthquake is coming. They do not understand what an earthquake is, but their instincts tell them that danger is near. The shadow maws? Instincts tell them that humans are the type of creature that hunts apex predators, Jinho concluded. And that terrifies them. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. For the first time since the crisis began, they understood why the most feared predators in the galaxy were afraid of humans. Dr. Hejin Kim stood outside the sealed door of the cargo bay, putting on her special breathing mask. The mask would help her breathe clean air in case the ship's air system was damaged. She checked her small scanner one last time to make sure it was working properly. I'm going inside, she said to Jinho, who was standing behind a thick glass window on the observation deck above. Inside the cargo bay, the biggest shadow maw on the ship had trapped 5 Altarian crew members. Altarians were pressed against the far wall, too scared to move. The creatures stood between them and the only exit door. Jinho watched Hajin's vital signs on his computer screen. Her heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure all showed up as green numbers on the display. From up here, he could see everything that happened in the cargo bay below. Remember what we discussed? Dr. Sora's voice came through their communication. Devices. She was still in the safe room, but she could see everything through the ship's cameras. You are not going to fight this creature. You are going to show it what kind of being you are. Agent nodded and pressed the button to open the door. The door slid open with a soft hissing sound. She stepped inside the cargo bay slowly and calmly. The shadow maw was enormous. It was almost 3 meters tall, which made it much bigger than any human. Its 8 long arms moved like thick black snakes, and its body seemed to be made of living darkness. Sometimes it looked solid like a real creature, and sometimes it became transparent like smoke. When the creature heard the door open, it turned its head toward Hajin. The 5 Altarians saw her and made small crying sounds. They wanted to call for help, but they were too afraid to speak loudly. Stay calm, Hajin said in a quiet voice. I am here to help you. She began walking toward the shadow maw very slowly. She did not run. She did not raise her hands to fight. She did not look scared. Instead, she looked directly at the creature's eyes and walked forward 1 step at a time. Her breathing stayed steady and calm. Her heart beat at a normal rate. She moved like someone who had all the time in the world. The shadow maw's behavior changed immediately. Jinho watched from above as the creature's posture shifted. Its 8 arms, which had been reaching toward the trapped Altarians, began to pull back. Its body became more tense, like an animal that sensed danger. Look at these readings, Jinho whispered into his communicator. The creature's stress levels are going up fast. Its brain patterns show confusion and fear. Step backward. Then another step. Its form began to become more transparent, like it was preparing to disappear through the wall. But it did not attack Hajin. Instead, it watched her with what looked like respect and wariness. It was the same way a wolf might watch a larger, more dangerous predator. You see, Hajin said calmly, still walking forward slowly. She was talking to the trapped Altarians. but her eyes never left the Shadow Maw. I am not threatening this creature.
I am not.
Showing it that I want to fight. Then what are you doing? One of the Altarians asked in a shaky voice. I am showing it what humans are capable of, Hedgen replied. We do not just survive when predators try to hunt us. We study them. We learn how they behave. We find out what makes them strong and what makes them weak. And eventually, we overcome them. The Shadow Maw continued to back away from her. Its 8 arms were now pulled close to its body, and its head was lowered slightly. These were signs of a creature that recognized it was facing something more dangerous than itself. The creature knows this instinctively, Hedgen continued. It can sense that humans are persistence hunters. We are the type of species that hunts other hunters. Jinho watched the scanner readings with amazement. Hedgen, your vital signs are still completely normal. You are as calm as if you were sitting in your office back on Earth. That is because I am not afraid, Hedgen said. I am doing what humans have always done. I am studying a predator and learning how it works. The Shadow Maw had now backed up almost to the far wall. Its form was becoming more and more transparent. It was getting ready to phase through the wall and escape. It is going to leave. Sora's voice came through the communicator. It does not want to be in the same room as a human. The creature looked at Hedgen one more time, then became completely transparent. It moved backward through the solid wall and disappeared. Within seconds, it was gone completely. The 5 Altarians stared at Hedgen with their 4 eyes wide open. They could not believe what they had just seen. The most feared predator in the galaxy had retreated from a single human who was not even carrying a weapon. How did you do that? One of them asked. I did not do anything special, Hedgen replied. I simply showed the creature what it means to be human. We are not just another species. We are the species that hunts the hunters. She helped the Altarians get to their feet and led them safely out of the cargo bay. Behind them, the room was empty and quiet. 6 months had passed since the incident with the HSRs aboard the Corvanni's Pride. Dr. Ginho Park stood in the center of the biggest meeting room he had ever seen. The room was so large that it could hold 1,000 people. Around him sat representatives from 47 different alien species from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council only met for the most important matters. Today, they were all here to listen to what Jinho had discovered about humans and their strange effect on predator species. Jinho wore his best suit and carried a small device that would project his research onto the huge screens around the room. Next to him stood Dr. Hedgen Kim, who had helped him prepare this presentation for weeks. Honored delegates, Jinho began, his voice echoing through the chamber. Our research has confirmed something that changes how we understand humans in the galaxy. He pressed a button on his device, and images appeared on the screens around the room. The images showed brain scans, behavioral patterns, and data from their encounters with the Shadow Maws. Humans possess a unique evolutionary trait, Jinho continued. We are what scientists call persistence predators. But we are not just any persistence predators. We are specialized in hunting other apex predators. The alien delegates leaned forward in their seats. Some of them looked interested, others looked worried. The Altarians, who had been on the ship during the Shadow Maw incident, nodded their heads in agreement. This trait appears to be recognizable to predator species across the galaxy, Jinho explained. When dangerous creatures encounter humans, they instinctively know that we are something different. Hedgen stepped forward and activated the next part of their presentation. New images appeared on the screens, showing different alien predator species and their reactions to human presence. Since our encounter with the Shadow Maws, we have documented similar effects with 17 different predator species, she said. The pattern is always the same. These creatures recognize something in human behavior that makes them cautious. Of the Zenthari delegates, raised a long, thin arm. His translation device made buzzing sounds as it converted his words into language that everyone could understand. Are you saying that humans are predators of predators? Zenthari asked. Doctor? Sora Choi appeared on a large video screen. She was participating in the meeting from Earth, where she continued her research. More accurately, Sora said, we are persistence hunters who have evolved to systematically overcome any threat. We do not just fight for survival. We adapt. learn, and eventually neutralize any predator that threatens us. This is clear when we look at our species' history on Earth. The chamber became very quiet. Delegates were processing what they had just heard. Ginho could see different reactions on their faces. Some species looked impressed by this information. Others looked distinctly uncomfortable. Admiral Kethfer of the Altarian fleet was the first to speak. He had been one of the crew members. Rescued during the Shadow Maw incident, this changes everything, he said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Humanity's role in galactic defense operations will need to be reconsidered. A delegate from the Vorthan Empire stood up. If humans have this natural ability to intimidate predator species, they should be involved in protecting our trade routes. We lose many ships to space-based predators every year. But what does this mean for the balance of power in the galaxy? Asked a representative from the Crystalline Collective. If humans can control dangerous species that threaten others, does this give them too much influence? Jinho raised his hand to quiet the growing discussion. We do not seek to control or dominate. We only want to understand this ability, so we can use it to help protect all species from dangerous predators. As the session concluded, Jinho received an urgent message on his personal communicator. It was from Earth Command. The message was marked as high priority. The message contained reports from across human-explored space. Similar effects were being documented with dangerous species on dozens of worlds. Human colonists were reporting that local predators avoided their settlements. Human traders were finding that space-based creatures that usually attack ships would retreat when they detected human crew members. Later that evening, Jinho stood on the observation deck of the Council Station, looking out at the stars. The galaxy looked the same as it always had, but he knew that something fundamental had changed. Humanity was no longer just another species among many. It was something that even the galaxy's most feared predators instinctively respected. Hajin joined him, carrying a tablet with the latest data from their research. Command is requesting that we establish a new research division, she said. They want to study what they are calling the predator effect. Ginho nodded, understanding the weight of their discovery. We need to learn more about this ability. How it works, why it works, and how we can use it responsibly. The galaxy is full of dangerous creatures, Heijin said. If we can help protect other species from them, we should. Ginho looked out at the stars again. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars. They were not conquerors seeking to dominate other species. They were not explorers looking only for new worlds to claim. They were the patient, methodical force that even the galaxy's most feared predators respected. In the distance, a ship full of human researchers was already preparing to depart for another dangerous world. It was ready to study and understand the creatures that terrorized others.